Guys, welcome back to my channel. We're going to be doing this beautiful colorful eye look. It's been a while, but we're going to go ahead and get started with a little bit of primer. This is from Euphoria. I apply it all over my face, and I also previously moisturized with hyaluronic acid just to make sure I have a perfect base. Continuing with some Fit Me concealer, I apply it on these areas. This is mainly to brighten and color correct. To avoid getting the fingerprint or indentations, try to tap it from your wrist, focusing on letting your hand fall more than pressing with your finger, and you'll see that you'll get a very smooth application without those finger marks. The same principle applies with the brush. As you can see, I'm holding it very far and just tapping it down. Moving on to the brows, I'm going to be using this Kosas clear gel, and I'm going to start applying the product upwards, brushing every single hair in one direction. I really like to define the tail of my brows. I think it makes it look a lot cleaner. Then I clean up around the brow to avoid any foundation from sticking to the residue. I have very stubborn brows, so what I like to do is grab a little bit of lash glue, and when it's tacky, I press them into place. This really helps me, especially when I have one or two hairs that are just out of place. And then I use the Kosas brow pen tool to lightly create hair-like strokes, especially in the front where I know I lack a few hairs, and just filling the empty spaces in my brow. Now I mix these two foundations to have a better color match, and I dab it with the damp beauty blender. I grab it also from my palette to my face to have more control over my layering. Continuing with one of my favorite contour sticks or bronzing sticks. This is from Cosmetics, and I like to apply these on my face because the formulation is very creamy. With the same beauty blender that I used previously, I tap in the contour and the bronzer, making sure that everything is well blended. And especially my hairline, I want to make sure that everything is coming from the hairline, not just lying in the middle of my forehead. Moving on to the main part, which is the eyes, I'm going to be using this white concealer from LA Girl. This is to allow the colors to be more vibrant. And you'll also see how I use it before and after the eyeshadow application to fix a few mistakes. First, apply with the flat brush, mimicking the shape of an under eye patch. Then with a clean beauty blender, we are going to diffuse the edges. Try not to spread it too far out. And if you feel like you went a little bit too far down, you can just grab your previous beauty blender with a little bit of foundation and just bring it up. Then to avoid creasing, I grab the Fit Me Loose powder, and with the brush I set the under eye, but if you don't have any issues with under eye creasing, you can skip this part. For this look, we're going to be using the NYX Ultimate Brights palette and a fluffy brush. I love this palette. I think it's very complete if you're starting out and need a colorful eyeshadow palette. I think this is a good option. Starting with this bright pink, we're going to place it on the inner corner, focusing on creating a small dot and building that out into a fade. Then moving on to our light purple. This is basically just following the color wheel. So we want to focus on placing the color and then just diffusing it. I would say this look also requires patience because we are layering the colors on each other, and we're also working on the under eye area, which is a very delicate part. So you don't want to go in it too hard. Everything is looking fine up to this point. Now I'll show you a few of the mistakes I made here, and I'll show you how to fix them, but I'll also tell you what I would do differently to avoid those mistakes. Here, instead of continuing with the light purple, I use a very dark shade, and that's when it started to come off. I did go in and clean my brush every single time I was picking a different color. This is to avoid muddiness. You can see that as I start placing that very light blue, I'm creating a really abrupt line, and that's why I would stick with the light purple to create a more seamless and lighter transition. Also, make sure to place most of the pigment close to the lash line and have the rest just diffuse down. Another reason why I love working with this palette, specifically for this look, it's because the colors are laid out in a way that they're very easy to follow. Like, it goes along with the color wheel. So all I needed to do was grab the color and overlap it and create that seamless transition. For the outer part of the eye, I mixed these two shades and I build out the color, flaring it out towards my temple. And as the last color, we're going to use this red shade to create the outline for the wing. Now let's fix those dark lines within the eyeshadow. I'm going to place a little bit of white concealer on the spot and lightly diffuse it into the look. Avoid rubbing or brushing, just tap it in. You'll notice how the color is still there, but very bright and kind of pastel. So we can go back in with the light purple and the light blue and the light pink eyeshadow and tap them back in into layers. Remember to tap the color lightly to not disrupt the base. Then I realized the outer part also seemed kind of off, so I wanted to do the same thing with the rest of the colors. Notice how I'm using the tip of the beauty blender to add concealer and the back of the beauty blender to diffuse it. I also went back in with a little bit of the pink to add it as part of my nose contour. I think it adds a little bit to the look. To create the wing, we're going to use two brushes, a flat angled brush and a thin brush, dabbed in a bit of setting spray, and then the eyeshadow from our palette. We're going to start on the outer corner, depositing the color and using the small brush to create a defined tail. We're just going to drag that color out. If you have hooded eyes, just remember to adapt the wing to your eye shape by looking forward and building that wing up. And then we're going to lightly diffuse the bottom part of our wing into the rest of our eye look, and you can add a little more of the red eyeshadow with the brush. Looking back, I think I would have left it more diffused like that originally, but I mean, it's up to you. Whatever you think looks best. The blush placement is also very important for this look. I think it really brings everything together. So we're going to use these two blushes from Kaleidos with this brush, and we're going to layer the lightest shade of pink right below all of our colors, following a sun-kissed look, and then the darkest shade is going to be around the red and orange parts of our eye look. I went back in to neutralize the eyelid with some concealer and added some loose powder to avoid it creasing. I repeated the same process on the other side, and now we're going to move on to the rest of the face before the final details. To set my face, I used a powder puff and a light layer of the Fit Me Loose powder, avoiding the areas where I previously applied color. And with a fluffy brush and my Kokie contour palette, I lightly go over the areas where I previously applied my contour, using a very light tapping motion, making sure that everything is blended. Going back to the eyes, I'm going to be using this velour lash glue, and I'm going to apply tiny dots approximately 1 centimeter apart from each other. And before they dry, I will start to apply my rhinestones. This is so that I don't lose where I placed them originally, because the glue does dry down clear. Having one side of my face already done allows me to work a lot faster, because I already know the placement and all I have to do is match it on the other side. I forgot to record the lash placement, but I did use the Velour Cloud 9, I'm pretty sure. And I also forgot the lip combo, but you can go in with a very pretty pink or any color you're choosing, since we are using the color wheel. And that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like this video. Let me know what you'd like to see next, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye!